Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. I know the last episode, I was like, I feel like a fish out of water because I didn't have my equipment. And I'm telling you, y'all, I don't know what it is, but everything wanted to break down today, okay? I don't have time for it. And why now? Well, why not now? Because equipment doesn't care about my feelings, doesn't care that I need to do a podcast, especially at the end of the year when we're running down the weeks before I get to take another mini break as we prep for season 5. So I have on headphones and recording it with headphones. If the sound is not great, charge it to my headphones. However, I am so excited about my guest on today. Y'all, let me tell you, I wanted to wait, honestly, and have them during Black History Month because I just felt like that would be like, damn. But time happened, things change. And as triathletes, we talk about transition and having to be flexible and move. And just so happenly, they were available today. So we're going to make it do what it do. Now, they are a sister duo, but only one of them is the triathlete. The other one is considered a spectathlete, spectator athlete. You get it? That was so lame, I know, but I had to do it. So I met the spectathlete literally spectating, but also volunteering. And that's when I said, wow, you are out here supporting your sister and you're also volunteering at a race. I knew I had to do an episode highlighting an athlete and sister or support. It could have been anybody that came out, but it was her sister. And how that is a perfect opportunity to experience the sport as a family. And nobody is left behind and everyone gets to engage and feel the spirit of sport, but also really get to be active participants. Without further ado, this young lady is a teammate. We are fast chicks as well. And if you know anything about Sojourn Butterfly, you already know who I'm talking about, okay? She is speedy on the bike. I was about to say she's got some athletic prowess. Did you know? You probably didn't know this, but they were a high school basketball star and track star. What? I'm telling all the secrets. And they are most recently an Ironman athlete. Now, the sister. When you meet her, you'll see like, yeah, she is an artist. She is dynamic and her heart is one of gold. She doesn't even have to know you to adopt you. She's adopted me as her sister. And I'm like, yes. And so when you hear the two of them, you will see that they are truly a dynamic sister duo. Without further ado, I get to introduce you all to my friends and sisters, Layla and Libya Doman. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, y'all.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad to have y'all. This has been such a long time coming. And although the time I wanted didn't happen the way I wanted, I'm really grateful that you guys are here now because I think It's something about the holiday season where families come together and really get that opportunity to be with one another and talk about the good memories. And I think you guys have created a lot of good memories since you're in, not necessarily inception into triathlon, but just prior to. But specifically because we're talking about the tri space, she was at your first triathlon and wrote you a special poem about it, right? Like, so I'm just excited to hear all of that and just to get into your story and how does it feel for you, Libya, to support your sister and be on the opposite side? So this is a little different twist, and I'm really excited to like just get right into it. So let's just start off by saying you guys are from the Philadelphia area, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Layla, Libya, were you an athlete in high school too?
Absolutely not. It's not. I mean, my father kind of forced me to like run track, but it was intense. Wasn't anything I actually wanted to do.
So you were just like, you were the child that the parents made you do sports, whereas Layla was like, yes, I want to do the sports. I'm here for it.
Captain of the team, all that good stuff. I mean, and if like Layla, if the little sister comes in, suddenly people think, oh, she's going to be an athlete too. Let's see how she like bounces the ball. But I wasn't good.
So bouncing the ball wasn't really a thing. It was like, this ball doesn't bounce. I'm just going to let it sit here and figure out what y'all want to do with it, but this isn't for me. Wow. Okay. So how was it being the little sister to a varsity uh, captain, essentially, of all the sports that she was a part of? What was that like for you?
I mean, I was proud of her, but I think I was probably a little self-interested at that time, so it didn't fully, I didn't fully take it in the way I take in her being, a triathlete now.
Mm, that's interesting. So now it's different seeing her in her element, being not forced to do a sport,
Mhm.
but doing it on her own. So what makes it different now?
Um, it's very different because I think that, likely basketball was challenging, but I got to see how challenging it was for her to be a triathlete, from, I'm sure she'll share this, from learning how to swim with proper form, from running when you don't love to run to, really falling on bikes and am I receiving, a message from Garmin that she's fallen off? Like, I feel like I've been part of, a journey in a way that I wasn't part of it when she was playing basketball. I've watched how hard she's worked to do it. And I remember the first time I saw her, place, I don't know, second or third, and I realized that all of the people they were older women, who placed. And it's like, it was very clear to me that this is a sport of like mindset, um, and endurance. And I honor that. I just think that's so cool.
Oh. You don't often hear how people who aren't in the sport see it. And that really is, I think, a good summation of the sport of being about mindset and endurance, right? It's obviously an endurance sport, but it really is a lot mental. Now, Lola, team captain, which I didn't know all this before a couple of weeks ago, and was like, explains Layla, when she's like, just suck it up, just do it. Like, let's just get it. And I'm like, this makes sense. Like, you're such a leader, and that's been embedded in you from a young age. Um, and just champion mindset. Talk about being a high school star and becoming a triathlete.
So let me correct that. I was an athlete as I was captain of the basketball team and I lettered in track, but I would not say I was a star athlete. I just really enjoyed the whole aspect of group sports. And being captain of the basketball team was opportunity for me to encourage the other participants, make sure that we all played our role in the activities, and we really became very cohesive, which is slightly different from, in my adult life and becoming a triathlete, because when you compete as a triathlete, you're pretty much competing alone. But I promise you, it's more of a team sport than anything else because you need to have your community to help you with the running, with the swimming, and on the bike. Those group rides were transformative. Even for me now, I can say that, becoming an athlete as an adult is very different than in my youth, but I have the same passion and desire to be successful in it even now in my 50s.
In your who?
Yeah, in my 50s.
Well, honey, let me tell you, you look good.
Thank you.
So that team aspect, and when you talk about you need people in your circle to support you, dig a little deeper into that. What does that really look like? Because I don't think people understand what's needed to have in your tribe when you try. I like that. Your
That's
tribe when you try.
right, your tribe. So my tribe, I have a group of cyclists who want to swim that I swim with at least twice a week. And if it wasn't for them, those 7 o'clock or those 6 o'clock morning swims probably wouldn't have happened. It's a level of motivation that you get knowing that there's someone else out there that wants to see you succeed. And so you have time with them. Even with you, Mashonda, we spent the whole summer riding in the wind so that we could prepare for a long distance race, our Ironman. So you need community is necessary for the building of your skill, for making sure you spent enough time in each sport to last, because running can become very lonely. But if you can remember the conversations you had that last time you did that group run, I think it really keeps you motivated and keeps you going. At least it does for me.
Love it. So you become this triathlete, right? When did you start the sport? What was that like for you? Because your sister was saying how you didn't learn how to swim. She was there for you when you learned how to swim with the correct form. So what was that like? Like, how did you get into sport?
Well, actually for me, the first time I saw a triathlete, I was attending I thought a 5K. But what turns out is everybody was running into the ocean. And I was like, what are they doing? Why would they do that? And someone explained to me the whole process that they were going to swim, bike, and then do the 5K I was doing. I was like, they are crazy. Why would anyone ever do that? But then by the time my actual race started, I was like, I want to try that, but I didn't know how to swim. So the following summer, I spent the summer learning how to swim, so just so I could do a triathlon. And you know, what happened for me in learning how to swim, I built a community of people who want to try something new when they're older. I was 44 years old when I learned how to swim. And just a couple of months ago, I swam 2.4 miles in open water. Who would have thought that that was possible? I certainly didn't. I didn't even think that that was truly going to be a desire. But it really makes a difference when you are able to connect with other people. And
Mm.
I think I've forgotten what the question was. Just rambling.
I was about to say, and I forgot what I asked you because I was so into the question, like answer. So I think I was talking about you becoming a triathlete and talking about your first race.
Yeah. So after learning how to swim, my first race was a hilly race in Pennsylvania. I was with a local tri club and we all raced that weekend. I thought because I was athletic as a kid that I would be very successful in the 25-mile bike ride. And like I can ride 25 miles and I can certainly, muscle through a 10K. But I learned about a month before the race that there were time limits. And I hadn't figured out the whole time limit thing on the swim. So I needed to finish this, I think it was at the time, 1,500 meter swim in like an hour or something like that. And I was like, oh, I can't swim for a whole hour. That's crazy. But the shorter race, you had to finish it in 35 minutes. Well, I still couldn't even finish the 35 minutes that quickly.
Yeah.
That distance in 35 minutes. In fact, my first attempt was 52 minutes, and they were like, "You're not going to be successful." And so I was frightened. I was like, it's not going to work." But I had the encouragement of my friends. There were four other black women. We called ourselves the Fab Five because we were training to do our first triathlon together. And, we got to the line. I think some of us decided not to do it because they didn't want to do the swim. We were all new to swimming. And so it was only two of us that did the whole race, and one was able to just do the duathlon portion of it. But it was great to know that I wasn't out there alone. And I remember finishing that race. I got through the swim. 35 minutes I had to get through the swim, and I finished it in 33 minutes and 28 seconds. And I remember that because I was amazed. And if you ever saw the pictures, you could see me just happy coming out of my wetsuit, just excited that I actually finished within the time, because that meant now I could ride the bike, which was hilly. I dropped the chain on the hill, and that was awful. And but I was stubborn and I wouldn't let anybody help me. And it took me 10 minutes to just put my chain back on. And now I can change a tire in 10 minutes. So you figure things happen to you while you are going through your first race, but you get through it. And when I finished the race, one of my good girlfriends, she had finished her duathlon, and we just hugged and cried at the end of that race because we had accomplished something we never thought we could. So that first race is hard, but it's fun, and I wanted to do more. And I think that first season I wound up doing 3 triathlons, and I've done at
Nice.
least every year since. So I think I'm kind of addicted.
Nice, nice, nice. So you finished your first triathlon. Now, Libya, were you at the triathlon for her first one?
I don't know. Was I like?
No, I can't remember. You came to, I think, Druid Hill when I did that one, but the big one that you really supported me on the first time was when I did my first 70.3. I did Waterman 70.3 in Rock Hall, Maryland.
Mhm.
And she was truly the best support. It was raining most of that race. She was out there in raincoat and boots, cheering me on with signs and encouraging me. And when I tell you, when I finished that race and could barely move, she was like, "All right, I'm gonna try to get you a massage." And she searched high and low to find a company that was open to give me a massage that night and couldn't find one. She pulled up a YouTube video and massaged me that night. When I tell you I had the best spectathlete, I truly do. I truly do.
Wow, Olivia, that's wow. I wouldn't do that for my brothers. And so so we should dig into this. I'm just kidding. I would. Okay. So Livia, what was that like for you? Because her first, you were there
Yeah.
when she was learning how to swim. So you were around, but you didn't attend. But you did attend her first 70.3. What was that like for you to be there in the rain? And see, a lot of times people, the spectators and those who are coming to support, they have a hard job. It is not easy to support a triathlete, especially on the longer distances. So can you tell us about your first time being a athlete for Layla?
I think there are just a lot of things you don't know as a person who's not part of the sport. Like you have no sense of when they're going to pass you again. You don't have a sense of like transitions. I mean, these are all this is language I learned at a later point. You don't know how long you're going to be standing out there. You have no sense of like, and then you start asking the question like, well, how long do you think this is going to take? And you have no sense of how they know how long it's going to take. So, I mean, there's just a lot of wait time, I think, where you're just waiting to see, your person roll past at some point and you're happy for those sightings. And I think, I mean, I'm a very enthusiastic. So when I would see her, I was just like really hyped, like, there she is. Cause it's been like, I don't know, I don't know, like an hour or two since I've last seen her. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of respect for the amount of time that they're out there and they're not stopping.
Mm.
It's still bizarre to me. And I remember at that particular one, um, this guy had this sign up that said, you paid for the right to do this. And I was like, yeah, they did. They paid to be in this pain and to endure this. It's a lot.
You paid for the right to do this. That's a whole different type of, you often say, we get to do this, but no, you paid. Because that's all right. I feel like that's going too much because I'm about to go on a whole nother tangent. But after seeing your sister do that 70.3, you were out there not knowing for the first time what to do. A lot of people are going and supporting their loved ones for the first time and don't know what to do. What would you say to someone who could be listening or they're listening with their loved one who does triathletes and they're trying to figure out the best way to support them? What's the best way to support someone at their race that you've discovered over time?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a lot of decentering yourself, because it's kind of like, what do you need? What do you need to eat? How can I be there? Or how can I be ready when you're going to come past me? Um, yeah, as I said, I think there's a lot of wait time for you as a spectator. For them, you guys are fully engaged when you're out there doing it, but you're just kind of waiting and making sure that when they're ready, you can support. Can I carry a bag for you? What kind of meal do you want to eat beforehand? What do you want to eat afterwards? You get a sense of like, wow, there's a whole science to fueling your body that I had no idea about. Yeah, I do think you just try to decenter yourself in that space because uh would I in this day would I want to go outside in the rain? Absolutely not. In the cold and in the rain, no. But I mean, it was worth it to see my sister push through and cross the finish line.
Mm. And after she crossed the finish line, I can't remember when, but I was told that you wrote a poem because you're the artiste. So, can you share with us the poem that you wrote for her when she became a triathlete?
Yeah, sure. I don't consider it a poem because
Okay.
I'm a visual artist, but I see it as like kind of a list. I had to go get my glasses. Um, and it's called Your Sister's a Triathlete When, right? And emphasis on sister because this is also about like blackness, right? A black woman showing up and doing this as well. So your sister's a triathlete when she doesn't respond to your messages immediately, but you conclude she is running, biking, or swimming, right? Um, your sister's a triathlete when hair conditioning and styling is a nearly constant topic of conversation. Hair, sweat, and chlorine, enough said. Your sister's a triathlete when anyone mentions exercising or 5K and you say, have I told you my sister's a triathlete? right? I think she's part superhero because I claim bragging rights for that. You know your sister's a triathlete when you spend a lot of time thinking about what to write on a race day sign, right? And I'm like, do I want to go motivational during the transitions or for victory when she crosses the finish line? Perhaps a joke. I don't know. I was really thinking about those signs because I usually make multiple signs for leg during the races for the races. Um, you know your sister is a triathlete when you can plan vacations to fit her destination triathlons. And I'm like, so where are we going next? What's our next trip? Um, you know your sister is a triathlete when you stop questioning why she won't just pick up the packet the morning of the event. Okay. Have you seen those lines? Bananas. You know your sister's a triathlete when you actually start to admire kits, then admire yourself for knowing what kits are, you know, because I had no clue. But okay, anyway. You know your sister's a triathlete when you seriously worry about the event t-shirts that are dominating her wardrobe. Like there's no more room for t-shirts, medals, towels, or any other memorabilia. Seriously. You know your sister's a triathlete when you impulsively cheer on any person anywhere who is wearing a bib number. I'm at Starbucks and I'm talking to this person with a bib, looking good out there, keep it up. You know, I'm just encouraging, what are you doing? You know? And lastly, you know your sister is a triathlete when you learn to accept because I can as a perfectly good reason to be a triathlete. Her dedication and endurance evokes awe. And have I told you my sister's a triathlete? And that's that.
Wow. That's
I
so
love
good. And I think most people can resonate with a lot of those things on the did you know my sister was a triathlete list, but probably haven't quite articulated it the way that you have. So thank you, Libya, for sharing.
Bravo.
You did your first triathlete, Layla. You did your 70.3. When did you know that you wanted to keep going the distance? And how did you prepare to go the distance?
Okay, let's be clear. I never set out to do a full Ironman. That was not in my desire because you have to complete a full marathon. I'm not a runner. I don't like to run. So the whole thought of doing a race that ends with a whole 26.2 miles was not on my radar. But I have this group of friends who are fast chicks, and they kept saying that they were going to do a race. And I said, I will gladly Sherpa. But somehow my Sherpa duty came into support duty. And I wound up training with them and committing to doing the race too. So I honestly, I had no desire to do one. I am a one and done full Ironman finisher. Um, the training was a lot. I did opt to use a tri-dot training program, which I think was not as many hours on my feet as many of the other people that I trained with. And there were some days when I felt like I wasn't training enough, but there were other days when I was like, "Ooh, I'm glad I don't have as long as they have because they run in full marathons and doing all these extra things." My longest run for my full Ironman was like 13 miles before the actual event. And now my marathon within the race was pretty slow, but I'm okay with that because I still finished the race within the time limit. And we chose a race that made that possible because the swim was a very simple race. So, I mean, a very simple course. It was a current assisted course, and that made everything wonderful. Now, granted, I am typically a strong cyclist, but this particular bike course was extremely windy, and it had a really bad section of road that was I was uncomfortable on. So my bike split was not as fast as I had hoped for, but it still left me with more than 8 hours to run. So I took it easy on the run, to say the least. But uh, yeah, I never imagined that I would do a full Ironman, but I'm glad I had the support I had doing that race. We had the best Sherpa team uh, ever you could ever imagine. We all stayed together. They supported us, cooked breakfast for us, lunch and dinner. Thank you. Should I call everybody's name? It was just wonderful to have G, Akira, um, who else was there to support? Cree, Lenora. Libya. I mean, we just had everybody there was so supportive, and it they made sure that we had whatever we needed to do that race, and even made me get up to be at the race on time. So, because that is definitely a challenge.
That's not such a
But
bad thing to be on time, is it?
well, some people say if you're on time, you're late. But I'd be okay just being there before the transition closed.
Hearing you, I just want to double down on saying that I probably need to do an episode on what it is to Sherpa,
Mm.
because that was some next level stuff that I don't know if
Oh,
I've ever experienced it myself. Like, it was almost get out the kitchen, don't do, like, you could not lift a finger. What is that like? And for people who may not even know you well, and literally, as you said earlier, Libya, decentering themselves to serve somebody else, it blew my mind.
Mhm.
And
yeah.
I believe if people have never experienced that level of sherpering, and even if they have, you should sherpa somebody so that you know how to do it for someone else, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's important that it's kind of like volunteering at a race, which we'll get to, but don't just race without giving back in some shape or form. And watching those ladies who are Ironman athletes themselves give of themselves, and you included Libya, who that was your first time. It was just unbelievable, um, unimaginable level of support. But I think my question, Layla, was what made you want to go the distance, and you went straight into telling about your race, which is fine because
I didn't want
I think
business. It was
I know. And so you said your friends, you were supporting them and roped you in. And we have this saying, we need better friends.
yeah, yeah,
But because of your friends, you are now an Ironman.
yes,
What
I am.
an honor, right? What is that feeling like? And even though she said it here, y'all, that she's not doing it again. But what if in 2 years we see her doing it again? We could be like, remember when you said, because it
Yeah,
happens
y'all,
all the time.
all I've done mine. I'm good. I am an Iron Man for life. You cannot take it away. I am an Iron Man finisher.
So what's next for you? So you finished Ironman. What are you going to be doing next? What's next for you?
Actually, next year I want to focus on cycling, um,
Okay,
hills specifically. I'll be doing some hilly races. We'll see.
awesome. Now taking it back to you, Libya. Obviously, this was your sister's first. So you're coming out there to support your sister. And somehow you ended up supporting four people plus volunteering. And volunteering, y'all, I mean volunteering for the race. Take us into what that was like for you, because this was a first time experience for you as well.
Yeah, I'd never been to an Ironman before. We had a great lead Sherpa G, who basically said, you know what? I got a plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going, as soon as they open up the volunteer situation, we're all going to apply. We're going to apply to be volunteers. And this is specifically what we're going to do. We want to be there at the beginning and we want to be there at the end so that, we can be present, during transitions and I was just like, oh, I'm so glad that she knows what to do because, like, I was just going to show up with my signs like I usually do. But so we had a plan. I think in volunteering, these multi-million, possibly billion-dollar companies really get over, because um, we worked. So I think we were out the door by 4:30 in the morning. We were volunteering, holding up signs for, I think I had the people who expected to swim in an hour and 30 minutes or something to that effect, and I had the sign holding that for that one. And somehow it was such a big crowd that I got pushed all the way down to the water. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, I get to be there and cheer people on. And but the thing is, we were out there from like 6 in the morning until like 1 something in the morning. And it was exhilarating. We did a lot to make sure we could see you guys. There were things that we volunteered for that, we hadn't initially volunteered for, but they didn't have many volunteers. And, I guess, we were just generous in that way. But also it allowed us to be closer to you guys when you were passing and, being able to like walk up to you and not feel like we were doing something wrong. But it was a great, exhilarating experience. I think that it helped to volunteer because I would say that it wasn't shorter, but it felt less like I was just waiting for the next sighting of Layla. Um, yeah, it's a good experience. It was good. It's good to be behind the scenes. And
And
I actually, what?
I was just going to say, and it was great to be able to see you at so many places.
Yeah, I mean that it was great to be able to see you as well. I mean, because that Ironman is no joke. I mean, we watch people falling out, like literally falling out. Breaking limbs, all kinds of things. And so there were scary times there too, as well.
so, Libya, would you, now knowing what you know and seeing how sometimes these events are short on help, would you volunteer again? And if so, what would you do differently?
Well, I mean, I would volunteer again to support Layla or, someone else felt, strongly about for sure. Um, I don't know. I mean, one thing that G did, who was like our lead Sherpa, the medal situation was a mess. And, like Black women just kind of go into place and they're like, listen, let me tell you what need to do. And I gotta tell you, she reorganized the people so that it became way more efficient, and like, now when I think about it now, if I were in the position where, there was a volunteer situation that was not really going particularly well, of course, I would wait, I would observe, I would figure out who the lead person is, and I would probably say, hey, what do you think about if we did it this way? Because there might be a better way. And, I think before seeing G do that, I probably just would have stayed quiet, you know? Yeah.
You also wrote your sister a poem or
The list.
a list. There was a list. Can you share your list? Because again, you had first hand experience of not only being there to support your sister, but you Sherpa'd, you volunteered. That was a long day for you. Before you share the list, how would you say you recovered from volunteering and Sherping? Because I think the picture I would like to paint or showcase is that just like the athletes are out there doing an Ironman and they're actually exerting their bodies, so are the Sherpas and the volunteers. And they're still out there for the most part, the same time difference. Uh, how would you tell someone what do they need to do to prep? So that's my question, to prep for Sherpaing slash volunteering. And what are the ways that you recovered from Sherpaing slash volunteering?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I'm a fairly avid walker, so I'm glad that I was, because I think by the end of that day, I probably had like 22,000 steps. Because it was, we were standing and walking around a lot. And, I mean, if you're not prepared for an Ironman and you're, being a Sherpa or a volunteer, if you're not prepared to be standing for a very long time or walking great distances, it's probably going to be really hard for you in that case, because we were just out in the open. It wasn't like we had a place to go chill, um, that when we were done, I had a flight very early in the morning, which, whew, was that a mistake? So I just stayed awake for the few hours that we were back in the house so that I could be ready to take the Uber and go. I probably slept for I definitely slept on my flight, which is not particularly common for me. And I definitely slept most of the day the next day. But it's hard for me to think about me recovering because I literally was not the person, running, biking, and swimming all day, literally. Yeah.
So share your I am an Ironman list. Is that it?
Right.
Okay.
Your sister, when your sister is when your sister is an Ironman, excuse me, you know that Italian will be on the menu the night before, right? Um, if the Sherpa says you need something, you just say, "Yes, ma'am." That's for you, Mashonda. Um, you volunteer if you want to cheer for her transitions. And I think that was another one of those yes ma'am situations, because there were points where I was just like, man, I would love to like sit down and not help with this. um Hydrate and mind your business is real. You are only competing against your personal best, one movement at a time. And so there was a lot of like knowing how people expected to finish and in what time, knowing when people were going to take it easy and knowing when people were going to push it hard. Like I know Mashonda, everyone was like, she can swim, and then everyone was like, Layla's a beast on the bike, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So it's definitely strategy involved in this. Um, yes, fast chicks wear lipstick while swimming, running, and biking. And yeah, they reapply after the swim. That cracked me up watching you guys reapply. Like as if there's nothing else to do. Um, Race stats can shift from soothing to anxiety provoking in a matter of minutes, right? And that is real. Like, you're watching, my sister and watching other people. I'm like, whoa, what happened? Why are they slowing down? Why, what's happening here? Like, and you're nowhere near that person, so you really don't know why that's happening. And there's just a lot of concern, especially since from my perspective as a volunteer, I was watching people get sick, you know, people like their bodies locking up on them. And, you know, so I was like, man, like every time you guys slowed down, I was like, what is happening with these people? Um, so when they passed, crossed the finish line, when sister passed the finish line, the announcer will probably say her name wrong, you know, especially when you have a name like Layla. Um, and you weren't going to hear the announcer anyway because you will be screaming so loud, which I was. I'm a little over the top. Um, when your sister is an Ironman, if someone says, "Do you want to borrow my legs?" They just need a little air compression because everything hurts, right? Um, And when your sister's an Iron Man, she has bragging rights for life, and so do you. I claim it all as mine. Um, and when your sister is an Iron Man, if you prepare, God will guide every stroke, step, and pedal. And I just thank God for keeping my sister safe through the process. Yeah. Cause I could, I mean, my sister came, she ended, you know, I was concerned at some point. So she definitely slowed down at some point, but I knew, but you know, G like let me know she planned on taking some of that the running piece a little bit easy at times. So I was glad to hear that. But I was concerned, like, where is she? What is going on? You know? Um, and, you know, truthfully, Layla wasn't so, she didn't look so hot. You know, once she had her medal and everything, she looked ill. And I was like, Lay, you need to sit down in this chair, you know, as soon as possible. And, you know, you ended up going to medical, you know, afterwards. So, I mean, for me, I was like, I'm just happy to be there in the event that something, unfortunate happens.
Hearing your sister talk about you as in a poem sense, what is it like hearing it from her perspective now that you are listening to this? Because I think, is this your first time hearing this?
Yeah, that's the first time hearing the Iron Man one. You know, when I was walking on the run, I wasn't thinking about anybody being concerned about my time. So that's good feedback. I should have been more concerned about people watching. I mean, I know Vaughn, who's the lead fast chick, says we don't have all day, but I felt like I did. So I was just taking my time. But yeah, I think it's real that, those who are tracking us get concerned when the tracker slows down. So, but I am also grateful that Libya was there. And it's funny, when I finished, I felt perfectly fine, but I sat down for too long and I got stood up and got dizzy. So that's why I went to medical. But yeah, it was great to know that I had somebody there that was close enough to, family wise, that could take care of me if something, like she said, catastrophic happened. Thankfully, nothing did. They just gave me some broth and sent me on my way.
Well, I'm so grateful that Livia had the opportunity to not just see you, but really experience it. You both had a very full first Ironman experience as a whole, and it was truly a family affair, an Iron family affair. That's what, yeah, you guys are an Iron family because Layla, Libya, volunteering is just no joke. I volunteered this year for Ironman Maryland and was like, oh my God, I don't need to just tell a volunteer thank you when I'm racing. I need to probably like stop. Thank you for really taking time out of your day to be here because it's really challenging work. And I noticed too at Ironman Maryland volunteering, people just didn't show up for their shifts. And so other people had to stay longer uh, in order to ensure that people, it didn't go fall by the wayside and people didn't have anything. And luckily, we had athletes that were with us who understood, but it was a lot to ask of people, especially when they were thinking they're only going to, serve for 2 or 3 hours. So, Libya, thank you for filling in the gaps out there on the course. Shout out to all of the Fast Chick volunteers and Sherpas who volunteered because you guys were moving nonstop. And that is, it's hard. But for those of you who are listening, you know, you can do any distance and Sherpa any distance and volunteer at any distance. You don't have to just do it at the iron distance. You can do it at the sprint, the Olympic, the middle 70.3 distance, or the 140.6. There's always a need for volunteers, and there's always need to support friends and or family. So if you know somebody who's doing a race who may not have an active family helping them, chip in and say, hey, you need some, got you. It makes such a difference to know that there's somebody out there supporting you and helping you. And yes, we do pay to get to do this, like that sign says, but it doesn't mean that we don't need the support and the help. So for those of you who are listening who have a good support system, great. Thank them often. Do nice things for them all the time because it really is a lot. But for those of you who don't, maybe invite your friends to see what it's like so that they can engage in with you with the sport because it does make a difference when you have people out there supporting you. Wow. I really kind of cool to have somebody on who's never like who's not in sport because it really does provide a different experience. But now we get to go to what I call rapid fire. And so I'll just ask a bunch of different questions that will be fast. Libya, I'll try to ask some different questions for you because I want you to be able to participate too, because a lot of my questions are already geared towards the athlete. So if we're ready, thank you guys for being here and we're going to get started. So here we go, rapid fire. Start with something easy. What's your favorite song?
As by Stevie Wonder.
Okay. Layla?
I don't know. Do I have a favorite song? I don't know. I don't really have a favorite song.
Well, what's a song you listen to on repeat? You have a really good playlist.
I have a playlist for morning song. Um, and gosh, I can't, I mean, I like all of them so much that I can't think of which one would be it. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite song.
It's okay. We're going to keep moving because it's rapid and that's not a rapid answer. So we're going to keep it moving. Layla does not have a favorite song. Um, Libya, what's your favorite part of the triathlon to watch?
I love seeing Black women out there. Honestly, like every Black woman that passes me, they're going to get a cheer, a scream, or something from me because I'm just so excited when I see Black women. I mean, the reality is many of these races are just full of white and Asian men, honestly. So when I see a Black woman, I'm like, I know you are your ancestors' dream, making this happen, and I just want to cheer you on.
Awesome. Layla, what's your favorite leg of the race?
Of course, it's the bike. I could bike all day, any day.
Okay. Where's your favorite place to bike, Layla?
Uh, I enjoy biking at Haynes Point, actually. Here
Mm.
in DC, it's the 3 mile loop. Just go around, you get some wind, you get some rain, you get some sun. It's great.
Libya, where's your favorite place? Where has been your favorite place to watch your sister try?
It's a really interesting question. Um, I don't know. I mean, to be a little non-specific, I'll say transitions, you know. Because
Well, I meant like destination. I should have been
I
clear.
know that's what you meant, but I can't think of a particular destination that I'm like, I love that destination. But I mean, I really do. I like, the transitions because you can like really look at a person in their eyes and like get a sense of like what their energy level is. So that's my answer. Transitions.
Okay, that works. Um, Libya, what's your favorite 5K that you've done? Because I know you are a more recent 5Ker that you do races destination wise on vacations. So what's your favorite 5K you've done thus far?
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. When your sister's a triathlete, when you go when you go on a vacation, you're gonna end up going to 5K or 2K. I would have to say my favorite was probably South Africa, Cape Town. That was pretty cool. Just to be, in another country amongst the athletes.
Okay, okay. Layla, where has been, well, you said Haynes Point. What's been the best part of your triathlon journey in the last 9 years?
Oh, connecting with the fast chicks for sure. I mean, you talk about having a tribe, that's the most supportive and encouraging group of women. I feel like I've been dropped into a space of leaders, successful women that are just doing things in the triathlon world, but also in industry. It's amazing. That's been the best part of triathlon for me.
This is for you, Libya. What is your favorite pre-race Sherpa meal that you eat?
I mean, obviously pasta, right? Do you have a choice? We're definitely going to go to an Italian restaurant or make that wherever we are. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not really a big pasta eater, but like, yeah, I always enjoy it when we do.
Okay. And Layla, what's your favorite post-race meal?
Ooh, post race, I'd love a burger. Any
Oh,
kind of burger with some bacon on it. Bacon and cheese.
why are you looking like that, Libya?
Like the cheat meal. Well, she's a vegetarian, so burger and bacon. She wouldn't have any of that.
Like, okay, okay. So your burger and bacon it is. And this final question is for Layla. Do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break?
I get off my bike and take a proper pee break. I cannot understand how people actually pee on their bikes. I really, mentally, I try, but I have to stop and get off. Just
Well,
can't do it.
well, that's all right. Well, congratulations again on Ironman California, Libya. Thank you for being out there to support everyone, especially your sister. And for those of you who are listening, thank you for listening. We have one more episode to go before the new year gets in. Continue to like, share, post, um, follow us on Instagram, on YouTube. So this will air on YouTube as well for those of you who want to see the video and see how cute my hair looks right now, because it is very cute. Okay, okay. Just wanted to put that out there because it was exploding earlier today, but it's better now. Um, all that to say, my name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines, and it is a pleasure to be with y'all today. And remember, whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win. All right, we out, y'all. Peace.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win.